Why did Smith Snowden decide to stay at Utah instead of entering the transfer portal? Well, Smith Snowden joins me on today's Locked On Utes to discuss exactly that.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. If it's your first time tuning into this show, make sure you like and subscribe. Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by our great friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College, all caps, no spaces, for $20 off your first purchase today. My name is JT Wistersill, and on today's show, Smith Snowden joins me. As I mentioned in the tease, right away, we get a new why'd you stay at Utah? As I said in the tease, I asked Smith Snowden, hey, why did you decide to stay at Utah? There were lots of reports of BYU trying to lure Utah players to their roster, Smith Snowden being one of the top names in that. So I asked him, hey, why did you decide to stay at Utah? Also just cover this upcoming season, which DBs are going to stand out. Just really an opportunity to get to know Smith Snowden. That's what this episode of Locked On Utes provides. The next 9 minutes are all of my interview with one of the best corners in the Big 12, Smith Snowden. We'll be talking about some of the comments he made at the end of it as well, too. So please enjoy my interview with one of the best cornerbacks in not just the Big 12, but the country, Smith Snowden. Excited to be joined now by one of the best defensive backs in the Big 12. You don't have to say that if you want to be humble. I can say that, though. Smith Snowden, kind enough to sit down with me here. Smith, I want to know first, there was lots of noise this offseason, the spring portal, about just kind of everything going on. But most importantly, in the transfer portal era and everything, why did you decide Utah is the place I want to be for my third year?
Yeah, no, first of all, thanks for having me. This is awesome. But I think it comes down to I truly believe there's a lot of unfinished business and that I want to be a part of. So just being here, being around the guys, being around the coaches, it's family. So it was an easy decision, right?
What makes Utah special and the place that you wanted to commit to in the first place out of Skyridge High School?
Just the culture, man. Just it's really a brotherhood. Just the guys are awesome. I've really created a true friendship and most importantly, a family. So just being around them, being around our coaches, it just means the world to me.
How do you feel like your game has grown in the biggest ways since you were first-year player to where you are now here?
I think it's just processing it. Most athletes know when you get to college, it's much faster. So just having the game slow down and me getting more comfortable and confident in my abilities just really slowed the game down for sure.
Yeah. What's something you take a lot of pride in your game technically that you think that makes you a strong and stout defensive back?
Definitely. I would say coverage skills. Utah is really prideful when it comes to man coverage. So you got to play man coverage if you want to play. And I really believe in my ability to play man coverage.
Is corner the toughest position to play in football?
Physically, I believe so. Obviously, mentally, would probably have to be quarterback just because that's a general of the whole team. But physically, I would definitely say corner is for sure.
Corner is so reactionary, so there's so many hard challenges that go into it. Is it the hardest position in sports to play?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have a full answer for you, but I would definitely have to say one of them for sure.
Do you at all miss returning punts and kickoffs, and is that something that you'd love to do more this year?
Yeah, so last year I started kick returning. My first game kick return was actually against BYU, so that was big. So just building off of last season, going into this season as a kick return, I'm excited. I'm ready to make some plays for sure. Yes, sir.
We're excited to see that too. And you did a lot in the high school level that I got to see that up person. Another year for you with a lot of turnover in the cornerback room, but another year with Elijah Scooby Davis. Just talk to me about him as a person and as a player, and how big too is that chemistry since he is the other. I know you have some safeties back, but the other main returning starting corner.
Yeah, for sure. Scoop's one of my best friends, so being able to play side by side with him just is really awesome. And his just growth every day, day to day. He just attacks every single week, every single day, just with the intent to get better. And that's all you can really ask for, right?
Tell me about some of the new guys then that have come into this cornerback room, and what should we expect to see out of them, and who are some of the transfers that have stood out so far?
Yeah, we have some transfers. I'll start with Donovan Sanders, Blake Cotton, Jeremiah Caldwell. We have a freshman, Jason Stokes, and they're all have great ability, and all I can see and trust to make plays on the field at a high level.
Yeah, and we're excited to see those guys out here for this coming season too. Do you like playing, slot nickel more, or would you rather be an outside corner?
Mhm. I've really grown to love nickel, but obviously, like we were talking about high school, I played a lot of corner. So just being able to feel comfortable and being able to be so versatile, I like to play both. Yes, sir.
Who are some of your favorite corners growing up?
I really like Denzel Ward.
Oh,
I kind of see a lot of his game in me. I think he takes a lot of pride in his technician, and that's something I take a lot of pride in. So definitely Denzel Ward.
The big hit against who was it? Ohio State was
I
on.
think it was
Yeah,
Maryland.
Maryland. You had barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me.
It's coming. Yeah, barbecue. I remember the announcer saying that.
Yeah, Gus Johnson back then. What's your favorite play you've made at Utah so far?
Definitely the UCF pick six. I told some of the guys I was really determined to get a pick six before the season had ended, so it just couldn't have came at a better time, to be honest. The fourth quarter, a couple minutes left in the game, had to get it done.
What's it like playing the Big 12 versus the Pac-12?
I would say a lot more travel. The Pac-12 was much closer. We fly out to West Virginia this year, and obviously we flew out to UCF last year, but I think football's football. I'm excited to, you feel me, go out there and compete and have fun.
Talked about a lot of guys in the secondary. It's a really good one. And we'll stay on the cornerbacks right now. I'll say this. And if you want to say safety, you can. Who's going to break out in this room? Give me one name that by the end of the year, fans are going to be raving about.
Yeah, I think someone that people know about but not truly know about yet is Rabbit Evans. Okay. He's in that number one. He's wearing that Uno. That's one of my dogs. He's a playmaker. I'm really excited to see him shine this season.
What makes that safety room special? I'm incredibly high on Teo Johnson.
Yeah,
he's a top. Yeah, he's an elite safety. Nate Ritchie, as whether he's going to be the second, the third guy, and you already mentioned Rabbit he's a baller too. Tell me about those guys and anyone else in that safety room that stands out.
Yeah, all of them. When it comes to Teo, Rab, Nate Ritchie, they all are football players. They're all can make plays, and I trust their abilities to go out there and make plays. But yeah, I'll start. We know what Teo can do. We've all seen it. He's a baller. He's one of the best safeties in the Big 12, but definitely seeing Rabbit and Nate Johnson come into their own, or Nate Johnson, Nate Ritchie come into their own and really take their game to the next level is going to be really fun to watch.
I know Nate's going to play wide receiver a little bit this year too, but he's going to be a DB too, Smith. Is that
Nate can do it all, man. He's a great athlete.
He is a tremendous athlete. I'm excited to see the season that he can have. And honestly, this offense, I mean, we all want to see a bounce back from this Utah offense from what it was last year. How confident are you in that? And what was it like playing them in the spring? Yeah,
no, I'm confident for sure. I think it all comes down to Dev, to be honest. We know what the trenches can do, the O-linemen there. We got some dogs on the O-linemen, but it's going to come down to Dev and how electric he is. And just in the spring, man, it's a tricky offense, so I'm excited to see what they can do for sure.
Feels like it's going to be a special year for this offense. You want to have a special year as well, I know, too. What are some of your personals for the coming season?
Yeah, just being able to, first and foremost, being able to lead the guys and just make an impact wherever I am, whether that's on defense, whether that's on special team, just being able to make an impact and just shine for my brothers.
Why number 2?
Honestly, it was the only number open. So I wanted to get into a single-digit number, and number 2 had opened up. I was like, you know what? Let me grab that.
What number would you have wanted if you could choose any when you first got to Utah?
Yeah, I wore number 3 in high school, so I really liked number 3, but I'm really learning to love number 2. I've obviously made some plays in it and just want to make some more plays in it, leave my mark.
Which wide receivers should we keep an eye on?
Man, I can't even tell you that. We have a lot of guys, transfers and people that have been here. I'll start with Dadrian Zipper. I think he's going to have a great season, man. Ray Glover is balling. We have Larry. We have Tobias. There's so much more guys I could talk about, but just get excited. Get excited to see some deep bombs, some quick game, just a whole lot of everything.
What's it like playing for Sharif Shaw?
I truly love Coach Shaw, man. He holds all of us and holds me to a standard of greatness, and he expects perfection. And obviously, we all know perfection is hard to freaking reach, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't care. He's going to tell you he doesn't care. That's what he expects. So just having your coach believe in you to reach the next level it just means a lot to have that belief and that trust for sure.
Do you have a favorite story from when Coach Shaw got on you one time or something that stands out?
Man, there's been a lot, but something I'll tell you about Coach Shaw is he's one of the most intense dudes I've ever met. He never chills out. Like he, like I was saying, he truly expects perfection. So if it's not that, he's gonna get on you. But that's just the standard he holds for us, and that's why he has the resume he does, because he expects such high standards from all of his guys, whether you're the starter, whether you're the second string, whether you're the third string, and whether you're the fourth string.
What are your personal and team goals for this year?
Yeah, personal, I want to get a lot of picks and a lot of pick sixes. And like I was saying, in the kick return game, I want to get some kick returns. And then obviously through the season, just get into that Big 12 championship and being able to win that. But obviously, got to take it game by game and just week by week and try and just continue to win out and just keep stacking the days.
Well, Smith, we are fired up that you were still at Utah, and we cannot wait to see the season you're going to have, man. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Let's get to do it for this part of Locked On Utes.
Awesome.
Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by Game Time. Yes, college football isn't quite here yet, but it is baseball season. And have you just ever decided last minute, you know what? I want to head to a ball game with friends and family. Maybe it's on game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app, they actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and lower price guarantees that truly take the guesswork out of buying. The seat views are right in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what kind of a deal you're getting. Also, just that panoramic view. You can actually get to see, hey, where are my seats going to be valued at? That's something I love. Tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deals? Game Time Zone Picks put the best seats in your section for you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all caps, no spaces, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price is guaranteed with Game Time. All righty. Really appreciate Smith Snowden for taking the time at Big 12 Media Days to sit down with me. Just another one of these Utah football players that, like I said, with Spencer Fano last week, I'll say the same thing about Lander Barton, who teased for tomorrow's show. Lander Barton will be joining me for a few minutes, talk about the upcoming season. Was able to speak to him at Big 12 Media Day. But every time I get the opportunity to talk with a Utah football player, I'm just like a great, and the ones we got to talk to Utah football at the Media Days, right? They're great players, but then great people too. So just someone that's genuine and easy to root for. Awesome to get to talk to Smith Snowden. As I kind of mentioned in that interview too, I got to cover his games back when he was at Skyridge High School and have been following along with him for a long time, hoping that Utah would get him in the recruiting trail. We can all remember when they were able to, and now it's just been awesome to watch him flourish at Utah, right? Going into his second year as a full-time starter, played a little bit in that freshman year, but played the full game slate last year. And now it's going to be one of the top corners in the Big 12. I truly believe, I'd say the best slot corner, but time will tell on that. So appreciate him sitting down with me for that interview. I want to talk about some of the top takeaways from our conversation, as well as something that we didn't get a chance to get to, because of course, at the time I was talking with him, it was before he got into that media scrum. The media scrums of Big 12 Media Day happened later, where he was directly asked by a BYU, or not BYU, but just by a reporter. He asked, hey, did BYU reach out to you directly? Because as we mentioned, there were lots of reports that BYU was trying to lure Utah football players to their roster, Smith Snowden being one of the top ones. And he said, no, this is a direct quote too. No, it wasn't directly to me. But you know what I'm saying? Like, Lander dealt with it too, and it's not BYU. He said it wasn't tampering. It's the agents. It's just the name of the game right now. That's the most important sentence, the last one. It's the name of the game right now. That's unfortunately just the way it is. So I don't love the game. I do think it's just crummy that you can reach out and try to pry guys off other teams' rosters, agents, whoever it is. I just don't like that. Like, if a guy enters the transfer portal, this is where it's always funny, right? I'll still see random BYU fans in the comments tell me about, like, why don't you guys only get mad about Keanu Tanuvasa? Why don't you get mad about Carson Ryan? And obviously we've left the Tanuvasa thing in the past, but it's just like, those are two completely different circumstances. Carson Ryan entered the transfer portal and then went to BYU. Keanu Tanuvasa said he was staying at Utah and then decided to go to BYU. So, and then there were reports of NIL and things of that nature. And once again, I'm not trying to dive back into that whole just storm of everything, but I'm just saying there's clearly a difference between just deciding to enter the transfer portal from the jump, and then there's no reports about anything. Just like, oh yeah, he wanted to go. But then there's reports from credible sources like, hey, there were all, like, Cameron Calhoun's another one, right? Where he decided to stay at Utah. And then you hear about things and reasons why he might've decided to enter the portal too. So that's where it just becomes frustrating, obviously, too. So That was just the first thing that I made note of. And yeah, I think just going back to his answers, he talked about he wanted to stay at Utah because of the unfinished business. It's a family with guys and coaches. One of the biggest reasons I believe that Smith Snowden is at Utah is because Utah won back-to-back Pac-12 titles in his recruiting. Utah won the 21 and 22 Pac-12 titles, right? He was a class of 23 player, so he signed in December of 22. He watched Utah win those titles. That's where Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu, Hunter Clegg at the time, we know now BYU Cougar, right? But Smith Snowden, all those guys in part came to Utah because they saw this team win championships. That's something when you come to Utah now, you want to try to win conference championships. When he says unfinished business, that's this team's goal. And also, I should say too, like to get back to a high-level bowl game and just contending in the Big 12. Last couple seasons, whether it was Pac-12 and then Big 12 a season ago, just obviously didn't go Utah's way. So that's right away where I look at an area and say that when he says unfinished business, that's what he's talking about. And one thing that was clear when he talks, and same thing with several of these Utah football players when they talk, right? They talk about this special culture, the friendships, the family that he's created. He talked about that a ton. And it's clear that even though things didn't go great for Utah last year in Salt Lake City, Kyle Whittingham's team up on the hill, it's still a place players want to be a part of. It's still a special culture and special group in there as well too. He also talked about, when I asked him like, hey, how have you gotten better? He just talked about how the game slowed down too with his understanding and just the reps he's gotten, and he's gotten that extra confidence in his abilities. And he's a guy who plays with confidence too. Never arrogance, I'd say, but he confidence. Like he knows like, hey, I belong on this field. He doesn't back down from anyone. And he is not the biggest cornerback in the world, right? There's a reason he's a slot guy. So you need that confidence, because that's the reason at times if Utah did need to, they could put him on the outside. I think I wouldn't keep him out there. I think he's best in the slot. And he even said that he really likes slot too, right? But that's where I look at Smith Snowden and I go, I know you could hang. I know you can make plays on the outside. And you can hang with anyone over there because you're an elite playmaker too, right? So that's what I look at there. I talked about his man coverage skills, just has strong confidence in those. If you're going to be a Utah corner, you got to be good in man coverage. Smith Snowden, absolutely in that. Love his abilities in man coverage too. He also talked about, just when talking about as well too, when I asked him about, hey, what's the toughest, like is corner the toughest? And he said physically, yes, but not mentally. He gave the QB props there. And he did say it's one of the toughest in sports. I've always thought corner, and I'd be curious what you guys think in the comments too. I've always thought corner is one of the toughest positions, honestly, in football, because it is so reactionary. Your opponent over there is running at you at full speed, and versus like, let's say basketball, right? Like if you're a defender in basketball, there's so much clutter and things happening around you, and you have help defense. And yes, you technically have help with safeties, but if a guy gets open, it's much different. There's a lot more green grass to be had. Like safeties are more so there so you don't get burned for a touchdown. Safeties usually aren't on certain routes. Yes, they can help take those away, but more often than not, it's more like, hey, you just can't get torched for a touchdown. But you have to have strong man coverage skills, and just to be a corner, once again, like I do think it's just one of the toughest, because you're reacting to what a receiver is doing, and he could burn you for any bevy of yardage. So you just have to have incredible reaction skills and timing. And Smith Snowden clearly possesses those too. And his skill set also makes him a strong return man. So that was cool to hear him talk about wanting to be more of a return guy too, and getting more of those opportunities this year, as he'd kind of gotten just a couple last year. I didn't get a chance by the time when I spoke with him. The news had not broken. At least Kyle Whittingham hadn't gone on. I think it was ESPN 700 when he revealed that Smith Snowden and Lander Barton would be playing some offense this year. Snowden is a guy that change of direction ability. He's got that for a cornerback, because he can quickly change direction, as we just mentioned, and go wherever a wide receiver goes. So if they feel like they want to get some production out of him offensively, and they think he can offer that for this team, more power to him. Like, let's do that. Let's roll Smith Snowden out there on offense, especially with a wide receiver room that absolutely has some questions. So I am 1000% in on Smith Snowden being a guy that Utah uses on offense. So I like that move, that they're going to use him a little bit there too. I asked him about Elijah Scooby Davis, right? He said that he's one of his best friends on the team, which is awesome, because those are the two top returning cornerbacks for this Utah squad. So the fact that they have that good chemistry and connection is good. Yes, they're more likely than not going to be on opposites of the field a lot of times. Although with Smith playing in the slot more, they'll still line up in a similar spot. But I do think that's really good. And he did say he loves nickel, but played outside in high school, so he likes a mix of both. I expect Utah to keep him at a nickel. So I thought that made a lot of sense. He was talking about some of the guys that stood out: Don Saunders, Blake Cotton, Jeremiah Caldwell. I thought it was interesting you mentioned Don Saunders first. Just, whenever you ask someone a question, the first guy you bring up to me is always interesting. It doesn't confirm anything, but just anytime you're asked anything, I'm always curious what your first answer is going to be. So does that mean Don Saunders is actually going to be the guy, and then Blake Cotton? Or is it just, a competition and there's lots of guys that are really good there, and for whatever reason he thought of Don Saunders first? It absolutely could. I'm just saying, if we get to week one, it is Don Saunders, we could look back at that interview and go, okay, like when I asked him cornerbacks, who are some of the guys to look out for in the room, the newcomers, and he went with Don Saunders first right away. I found that interesting. So once again, that's not like, it's not etched in stone or anything like that. That's how I always interpret that stuff. If that's where your mind goes to first, he's obviously impressed you, and he rattled all those guys off quickly. So they obviously are doing a good job. And it's clear that Utah, having Snowden and Elijah Davis back, and then they have so many depth guys after losing Zumaya Vaughn and Cameron Calhoun. This is a Utah cornerback room that is still going to be set and stout this coming season. I love what he talked about enjoying Denzel Ward and just the pride he takes in being technical, the aspects of a cornerback. And, he also talked about, right, playing for Sharif Shaw, he holds his DBs to a very high standard. He demands perfection and is intense. And when you set that standard at perfection, and even as long as you're shooting for perfection, because you're never going to hit it, but by shooting for perfection, you're going to fall just short of that. A lot of the times the best guys are, and that's what's going to make them the best. You got to do something to keep yourself competitive, keep yourself motivated, even when you're balling. Spencer Fano, in my interview last week, what did he talk about? That Jim Harding always finds something that he can critique him on and kind of talk with him about and work with him on. And I think that's important too, that you always have something you're striving, working. You never get a big head and be like, oh no, I am the bee's knees. For some reason, that was the first thing that dropped in my head. I guess I am turning into an old head if I'm quoting things like that, but you just can't buy into all the hype. Like if you start to believe, like if you just start to get overconfident in your abilities, like that's when teams catch you sleeping. And Spencer Fano, Smith Snowden, clearly guys that wouldn't do that, but also their coaches not going to let them do that either too. Of course, he said his top play was the UCF game. He told the guys he would get one, and I'm really glad that he was able to get one. Every really good Utah defensive back, like a really good defensive player, I love when they can get their moment and get a pick six. It's a big thing about they keep the streak alive and all the things of that nature. But I just think that moment's so cool. Lander tomorrow on my show, we'll talk about what a cool moment that was for him. And the same thing as well now for Smith Snowden, talking about like that's just such a cool moment. These guys, especially a Smith Snowden, right? Like when he makes a pass breakup, we're like, that was a nice play by Smith Snowden. Excuse me, I'm getting so fired up, I almost knocked my microphone out. When he makes a pass breakup, we all get fired up about Smith Snowden, but that play so often gets overshadowed for the biggest plays in the game. But if you get pick six, that is one of the biggest plays of the game. And then you get the shine appropriate for the level of strong plays that you make that help a team truly win a game overall. But when you look back on and say, why do we win this game? So often those contributions are forgotten because it's a simple thing as doing your job, but doing your job over and over again really well is still a really strong skill set and something that's really hard to do. Smith Snowden does a great job of that too. So he talked about, I asked the difference between Pac-12 and Big 12. I mentioned the travel, and I got to imagine it does take a toll. Like, going out to West Virginia, that's a long road trip out there. Going out to UCF last year, obviously Utah showed up and showed out, but those are long road trips, and they definitely take it out of you. So I wasn't surprised that he mentioned that too. Asked him about like who's going to break out. He said Rabbit Evans. That's a guy you can just tell people are buzzing about. We've been talking about Rabbit for a bit on this show too. Just when you watch him last year, especially down the stretch, it's like, yep, that's the next Utah safety who's going to be making a lot of plays. We know Teo Johnson already is that, but Rabbit's going to fit right in there, and he's going to make a lot of plays in the box, similar to a Cole Bishop, I really think. So I have high expectations for Rabbit Evans this year, and I shouldn't say high expectations. I just think, well, I do, but I think he's just going to be really good, and I know a lot of you guys as well. And he said all the safeties can make plays. It's a really strong safety room, and it's a strong secondary. It's a Morgan Scalley, Sharif Shaw led secondary, and they're going to shine too. Talk about the offense. He did say they're going to come back. He said it all comes down to Dev, and love the offensive line. Said it's a tricky offense. That's something that we've heard from a couple of the defensive players. It's like, hey, defending this new offense, it's a challenge because of the different things that you see Jason Beck do, trying to challenge teams and just shake things up. And he does do a really good job of that and making it difficult on defenses too. And he's right when he says it comes down to Devon Dampier, because the quarterback is the one who obviously makes everything happen. And Devon Dampier is really dang good at making really good things happen for the University of Utah. Keeping it rolling too. He talked about how, there's so many wide receivers. Talk about Zipper. How about, we haven't heard from Zipper in a bit. So I thought that was cool. He talked about Zipper turning heads. Another guy named Glover was mentioned. How about Tobias Merriweather and Larry Simmons, another guy, the Southern Miss receiver, another very popular name, Bill Riley, mentioned him in the show last week to me too. So a lot of people are really fired up about Larry Simmons and Zipper earning some nods. Smith Snowden too. I think those are both guys being expected to be in the top 5 wide receivers for this Utah football room for the upcoming season too. So I thought that was interesting too. And I'm expecting big things out of those guys too. I'm just excited for this Utah football team because obviously we've talked about it a little bit now, but I do think they're capable of some big things this fall, and Smith Snowden going to be one of the key guys who's able to be a part of that. So once again, really appreciate Smith Snowden for making the time to come on Locked On Utes. Always great talking with him, and just excited to see what he's going to be able to do for the 2025 season. All right. Originally, we were going to talk about this tomorrow, but honestly, let's just talk about it right now. So, something crazy that was said by Missouri head coach Eli Drinkowitz. He pitched a 30-team college football playoff with a play-in games from, this comes to us from On3, and this is a quote from Coach Drinkowitz. Now you're talking about an opportunity for 30 teams, 30 fan bases to be excited and engaged in giving revenue. You've got 30 teams with players who have access to compete for a championship. So for me, I think that makes a lot of sense. I will also add one of the things that he mentioned that I thought was fair, at least in trying to make this point. I totally disagree with it, but at least it was fair in making this point, is he talked about the percentage of teams that get to compete for the NCAA men's basketball, like all these other sports, the percentage of teams that get to compete for a national championship. Football, by far and away, the lowest. So I think it's a fair point to bring up. But at the end of the day, football is football. Like, you cannot, we can't have as many games as those other sports. It's the wear and tear. How in the world are you going to do a 30-team playoff? That's just insane. And it's also ridiculous. Like, the amount of flawed teams and resumes we'd be letting in, they're already talking about expanding the March Madness field, right? So we're going to get more teams with flawed resumes and potentially there. Alabama's, I already think 16's too many. Like, we're going to let last year's Alabama team get in, even though they had some terrible losses. And I know you had some good wins, but if you're that good of a team, then, like, if you're a team that deserves to be in the college football playoff, win those games. Don't lose to bad teams. And that's what, if you can lose to a lot of bad teams and get in a 30-team college football playoff, I think there might be some teams with 4 or 5 losses that get, I should say 4 losses for sure. There'll be 4 lost teams that get in a 30-team college football playoff. That's bad for the sport. There's no way you can convince me that's good for the sport. When we're letting teams with that many losses in, then we're diluting the product, right? Then we're allowing teams in. Sure, would the revenue be good, must-win games, all of that? I'm not doubting that, but it's still college football. Like, we have a 12-game regular season to determine conference championships, and we're going to get our 16-team playoff eventually. Fine. Like, I think that's too many, but if it widens the field so a Utah has a chance to get in, sure, fine. But at 30, and even though, like, it would make it more likely for Utah to get in, but what are we doing? Like, football is just not a sport that you should be having 30 teams in a postseason. The NFL doesn't do that for a reason. Could you imagine if the NFL did that? I like how it just dilutes the regular season so much. 30 would be out of control. So I'm glad that we are not heading for a 30-team college football playoff anytime soon. You can never say never, unfortunately, in today's landscape, but hopefully they'll just sit at 16 for a hot minute, because that already is too many, in my opinion. That's going to do it for today's Locked On News. Let me know in the comments how many teams would you guys like to see in the college football playoff. Let me know as well what you thought of my interview with Snowden. And tomorrow, as I mentioned, on Locked On Utes, Lander Barton will be stopping by. If you're in the market for a second listen today, Locked On College Football has you covered, covering Big Ten Media Days. Also have ACC Media Days going on. So busy week in the sport as we gear up for college football to return. That's going to do it for our show today. Hope to see you again tomorrow on Locked On Utes.